the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week. And welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Business Story of the Week. I am your host, Joshua, and our question for today is: how can a simple dinner party hold the secret to solving the epidemic of loneliness and disconnection? Well, our guest for today could a- answer that question exactly. Our guest today is Ginger Johnson, who says connection powers everything in life. When we connect on purpose, then we lead lives we love. I love that. I love that line. The ultimate outcome of connection is belonging. Ginger speaks and teaches on the power of human connection because she knows what it feels like to belong as well as to not belong. From middle school art teacher to firefighter, from hardware retail to running a successful speaking business, Ginger practices what she teaches and learns more every day in the laboratory called life. And today she teaches us those. I mean, I love it. I love the introduction. I love everything he said.
You did a
Ginger,
great job reading it.
it's
I think Masterpiece should call you.
Ginger, thank you for coming on here. I love the energy. How are you doing? Thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me, Joshua. It's always a pleasure to be of service, and your energy is, I'm getting it back. So fantastic. Let's do
Fantastic.
this.
It's I really want to get into this. First of all, you've had such an extensive career and you know different experiences in life. But more importantly, I love how you emphasize in connection, right? Then
Mhm.
we when we connect on purpose, we lead lives we love. I love that. But Ginger,
Mhm.
tell us about any pivotal moments in your own life that led you to understand the power of human connection. Why human connection in particular? And did you always know you were going to be a keynote speaker?
Mm. What other questions you got? Uh, Gosh, there are so many stories that we all have. In fact, I would
Mm-hmm.
say that our life is a compilation of stories, Joshua.
Right.
There's the story of getting out of bed to flying across the world to being on screen and seeing somebody. There's
Right.
every moment can be a story.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a number of very memorable, and usually memorable is very impactful stories
Right.
for me. I can remember, in fact, I open with a lot of different ones. And on the wall behind me, if you're watching this or if you can see this at all, I've got almost a full wall of color of
Oh wow!
ideas.
Look at
And there's
that.
a section just of stories that keeps growing because our stories change, which you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, the business story of this week being the power of human connection.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give one that I think a lot of people can relate to. I was a pretty
Please.
quiet kid in school.
Okay.
I wasn't
I don't believe
shy.
that.
Okay, and I know most people, that's what they always say. They're like, no, you're joshing us. I'm like, nope, I'm joshing you. But I was a pretty quiet kid. I wasn't shy.
Uh-huh.
I felt I was loved. I was safe. I had a wonderful childhood. I know I'm extremely grateful and lucky for that.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, my bedrock of feeling connected with myself, feeling of value to
Mm-hmm.
myself within my family, within the friends I did have, within our family friends, that was
Mm-hmm.
pretty strong. Was it a huge cadre of people? No, that's not what
Mm-hmm.
connection is. Connection is not volume. That is
Mm-hmm.
something else.
Mm-hmm.
Being a pretty quiet kid, I wasn't the most popular kid in school.
Right.
And at that time in our lives, having some modicum of at least feeling welcome, wanted, you can use the popular word if you want. It's
Mm-hmm.
really about the welcome and wanting feeling that
Right.
we all deeply crave. It's instinctual, it is part of our
Mm-hmm.
species. We are pack
Mm-hmm.
animals.
Yes.
Um, and I remember having some moments in high school in particular where I felt like,
Okay.
gosh, does anybody in my grade like not want to have this baloney in front of them and this stuff that it just didn't appeal to me? And I had this pivotal moment of like,
Uh-huh.
so frustrated. The frustration is like climbing a hill. And you
Right.
finally get to the top of the hill, like, oh, that's the view.
Right.
It's not the view when we're climbing, Joshua. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
view when someone else says, turn around, take a look. It's
Uh-huh.
the view when we reach those basically culminating moments in our lives
Uh-huh.
where we're like, you know what? I am fabulous with who I am. I'm
Right.
good. I'm going to keep going this way. That's when
Interesting.
something broke loose for me. I ended up with different friends in a different grade. In high school,
Mm-hmm.
that's almost sacrilege, but that's what happened. And that's what I saw at the top of that peak. That's just one story. A lot of people feel disconnected in their middle school and high school years, which has a lot of impact, which we can change. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
very different. And when I went back to my class reunion several years ago, people were like, what? That's Ginger? Because I
Mm-hmm.
had come into my own. I realized that what I wanted from human connection, Joshua, is I
Yeah.
wanted my own confidence. But we don't get confidence from external sources. The power
Yes.
of our own connection is that we acknowledge that we are remarkable beings and
Mm-hmm.
that it starts with us and then it ripples out. So that's one of many stories.
That's really fascinating. And you've had a diverse life, so to speak. I mean, first of all, saying that you were the quiet kid is, of course, no, I'm not surprised why they were absolutely surprised in your reunion. Because you've come into your own and you've led different lives. You've been a teacher, you've been a firefighter, now into business consulting. How did you come into it? That's, I think, it's a very important
Mm,
question. Where did it start? How did these experiences shape your approach to
mm,
fostering connection? And it really starts with, I feel like you connected with yourself more. This, I think, is
mhm.
very important. But talk to us about that. Where did it begin? How did you come into it? How did you come into yourself and connect with yourself more?
Yeah. You're 100% right, Joshua. It's not up
Hmm.
to anybody else, it's up to us. It can feel very daunting. It can also feel very
Yes.
exhilarating.
Hmm.
So, how did I come into my own? I would say that I took a somewhat modern conventional route of graduating from high school. I was one of the youngest ones in my class. I had a quote late birthday, and so I was only 18 when I entered college. I had just turned 18, and I went to college. I have an older sister who I'm very proud of, and I was always Holly's sister, which that was not a curse. That was okay.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that. But once I got to college, Joshua, and it
Uh-huh.
was my choice, and nobody else knew me. Nobody knew my family. I wasn't
Hmm.
Gene and Will's kid. I wasn't Holly's sister. I wasn't second to last trombone. I wasn't all these things
Wow.
that we sometimes think are monolithic and like a
Hmm.
single describer.
Hmm.
I was way more than that. I was the sum
Wow.
of all my parts. And I really started to flourish when I was
Wow.
in a different environment. I was a few hours away from where I grew up,
Uh-huh.
and I really started discovering who I was. Now,
Wow.
that came about because I did have a good bedrock. And I know everybody's bedrock is different. Some is
Hmm.
shaky, some's like going through the Indiana Jones caves, some is really solid, some is like California, you never know where it's going to rupture. So I realized that these are compounding concerns.
Hmm. Hmm.
Everything builds on everything else. You know this.
Of
You're
course.
having you're sharing business stories every week, and I bet you hear all kinds of patterns and repeats and behaviors and all of that. So that is who choose to become based on how we're looking at that. I think of it as what's my windshield,
Hmm.
and way less importantly, what's my rear view, Joshua? My
Wow.
rear view and my side views. I illustrate this in keynotes often. Like, what's the smallest perspective? Your rear view. Why? Because it's for reference only. It's to say we've
Wow.
made it, or we've come from there, whatever it is, especially post pandemic.
Hmm.
Side view, they're small too, but they're also a blind spot. So don't rely on those. What we want to do is look through the windshield. So when you're thinking about your own business story and the business story you want to make, what's your windshield? And
Right.
how are you going to take that rear view and the side view and help that move you forward?
Wow.
Being the person you want, because who you are is way more important than what you do. I do an equation of who over do every single day of your life.
That is so important. We have this thing. It's called like a be do have, right? So you have to
Mm-hmm.
be yourself first. And then you'll have what you want. And it really starts with connecting with who you are and having that. I love that when as soon as you got into university, you realize like, wait, I can have my own choices. I can be myself. I can choose who I wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fascinating, of course, and it must have felt very freeing to finally come into this whole being who you are, which is so important. Just looking forward, but it's not that
Mm-hmm.
easy, right, Ginger? It's always difficult. We try to always look back in our rear view mirror. We're always thinking what we could have done better. We're always looking at our past. What are some common barriers that you see people face when trying to connect authentically? Of course, it starts with connecting with yourself first. How do you
Mm-hmm.
help people overcome that? Connecting with themselves again authentically first so they could connect with others as well.
Mm. It's a vital question. First of
Very.
all,
Please.
focus on the future. Focus on who you truly want to be. And what does that mean? This is not some glib like guru journal book. This is about what are the aspects of who I am that I really like. Are there areas that I'm already really solid on? I want to bust the myth, Joshua, also
Mm-hmm.
that we are inherently broken or bad or not able, or that guilt is a worthwhile endeavor. Because that's not necessarily, I don't believe that's true. I believe that's the story we tell ourselves sometimes. That
Mm-hmm.
again, I had a really, I'm super fortunate of how I was born, where I was born, all the things that were totally not in any of my control. The
Mm-hmm.
sperm and the egg, that was their choice. Where I came out, that was my parents' choice.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things that I don't have control over, but it's not about being in control. It's about being in command of who we
Wow.
look forward and want to be. So if you're going to work on yourself, then decide, first of all, with a positive lens. Something I teach is positive, objective, and willing. It spells POW. It's in my canon, my book behind me. I teach it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If we are positive with ourselves, if we are kind to ourselves, if we
Yes.
remind ourselves that even though we might have come from there, wherever there is,
Mm-hmm.
bring the
Mm-hmm.
good forward, bring the lessons forward, and
Right.
then let the rest of the stuff go. I finally
Mm-hmm.
watched the
Mm-hmm.
whole movie Frozen. I think the best line in that song, Let It Go, is the past is in the past. Yeah, that's in the past. So
I
reflect on
agree.
it,
I
but
agree.
don't live there. That your
Mm-hmm.
childhood trauma or your childhood joy, that's not where you're living right now. How many people
Right.
are caught in the past or thinking that that's still the glory to extend? No, there's so much joy in front of us. So
That's
be
true.
positive about who you are, who you want to be. Set that
Mm-hmm.
sail, set your compass on
Mm-hmm.
that. Be objective, suspend judgment. Be
Mm-hmm.
kind to your damn self. Like,
Yes, of
there's
course.
enough people who are ready to be the critic, which to critique is to examine, but often it goes in a negative direction, Joshua.
Yes. Yes.
So be objective with yourself. Say, I wonder why I'm feeling that way. Like a super accelerated connector practice, which I am now totally grooving on, is when I feel something coming up, I feel rest. I know what my tells are, so to speak, in poker speak.
Okay.
And so I
Okay.
pause and say, okay, why am I feeling restless? Why is this a trigger of any kind? In fact, right before the show, full disclosure, I got an email and it like, wait a minute, what? I gave me pause and it certainly has fired me up. And then I
Mm-hmm.
thought, okay, what is it about this
Mm-hmm.
that I'm letting trigger me? And
Right.
how am I going to move forward? I immediately called two very trusted friends. They
Mm-hmm.
both gave me great advice. They both know me. So being
Mm-hmm.
objective, still feeling the feelings. Like anger is still a good feeling. Happiness is still a good feeling. These are not emotions. These are feelings before they get there. So being objective with yourself, saying, why am I feeling this way? Why do
Yep.
I want to be that way? Or why am I this way?
Mm-hmm.
Examination, a reflection is really important. And then
Right.
that willingness is the last one, the POW. The willingness, I believe, is the superpower there, Joshua, because if we
Mm-hmm.
are willing, then we'll say, my friend Joshua asked me to do this thing. I haven't tried it before. I tried it before. I didn't like it before, or I loved it before. We go off on the rabbit trail hunt
Mm-hmm.
before we say, well, why not? Why not try it? Unless life is truly at stake, let's
Mm-hmm.
try something. Now,
Yeah.
there's a distinction, and then I'll wrap this up.
Please.
There's a distinction, Joshua, between opportunity and options.
Wow.
I like to teach it that somebody's going to come to you and they say, "Oh, do I have an opportunity for you?" And that is valid because to them, they see it's like, "Oh, why wouldn't you want to be part of that?" We all get into that, right?
Right.
It's our option to examine the opportunity. Is it the right option for us? Will it
Wow.
go from an option to an opportunity that can propel us, that we can contribute to, that we can add to the world with? Or will it simply be a waste of time or something we wish we hadn't done? So never mistake those two. When you're willing, you're first willing to see, well, what is that thing in front of me? And is that something I truly want to do? Does it fit with who I want to be? See how this is all wrapping together?
Yes,
What's the
exactly.
story I'm
Uh-huh.
creating by
Exactly.
making those choices?
That's fascinating. So we have the POW. Walk through us again. The first one, the P is
Positive,
positive,
objective,
objective, and
willing.
willing. And it's
Mhm.
always a challenge. I think the first letter alone is quite challenging to most people already, right?
Yeah.
Like how do you even stay positive, be kind to yourself? We're always so kind to other people, but we're not even kind to ourselves. But I love that the very last part you said there, willingness. This is a true superpower because you have to
Mhm.
be able to want to get into there. You also have to
Yes.
be also have to be willing to
Yes.
connect with yourself, to be who you are, to be
Yes.
that bravery that it takes to
Mm.
connect and take that kind of an identity and lean into it. Ginger, you
Yes.
mentioned your connectivity canon a little bit there behind you, your book, and it talks about a difference between connecting and networking.
Yes, it
Like
does.
purposeful, meaningful relationship with the elements of connectivity. Talk to us about that.
Bum,
Talked
bum,
about
bum.
the connective and why connectivity canon. Explain it to the audience and listeners,
I'll start with the last piece first.
please.
The world doesn't need more books in a way. We definitely need good messaging. We need reinforcement. We need
Hmm.
growth, those kinds of things. We are the world's most invasive species, and we're not always real good at being the best species.
Hmm.
So I thought, what do I want to teach? What do I want people to learn about? When I started with Connection, Josh,
Hmm.
I had already had my own companies for many years. And when I pivoted to Connection, I had my own, I called it my prairie dog phase.
All right.
It was the like, oh, I think I'm going to do this. Well, maybe not. I was examining the opportunities. Was it an opportunity or
Hmm.
was it an option? And then I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, maybe not. Like a prairie dog, you kind of go back down into your den, and then you pop back and like, oh, maybe it's this. And
Hmm.
so you explore and you talk and you share. And then when I popped up, it was November of 2017. I remember the moment. It was in that month, and I'm like, oh, what I want to do based on who I want to be is human connection. And the very
Right.
next instant, Joshua, I said, okay, so I know intrinsically what
Uh-huh.
it is. What am I going to teach to the world? What does the
Wow.
world need from me that
Wow.
I can help with? So I'm queuing up to write my next book. That one came out. I wrote that
Oh.
in 2018 is when it came out. Happy to
Oh
send you a
wow.
copy. Um,
Oh please.
and it's interesting to read it because most of it is still very valid. There's a
Hmm.
few words I would tweak because since then I have been in front of thousands of people and I've had conversations with hundreds and hundreds of people, and that's not an egoic statement. It's
Hmm.
part of the joy of choosing the work I choose to do. I literally put myself in front of different
Hmm.
people and I instigate conversation. I want to find out where are they coming from, what do they need, what do they
Hmm.
want, where does that twain meet, so to speak, so we can help people. So the word canon, it felt like it's a different word. You don't see a lot of books with the word canon. I don't think that I'm Martin Luther King or Martin Luther. I just know that it feels really important to me. To me,
Hmm.
canon is up there with manifesto, and there's certainly plenty of those, or one
Yep.
manifesto, depending on your perspective.
Hmm.
I wrote it though for two very distinct reasons. Number one, it's my
Yes.
second full book that I've written, but the first reason was I wanted to be really clear on what I was teaching because the way that people can then utilize what I share, it's not about me, it's about what I can offer that somebody can use. I'm very, very clear on that. And number two, it is not a glorified business card. I want to state the record here. anybody listening to this who think a book is a glorified business card is not taking their book seriously. They're not taking your reader seriously.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Harper, phenomenal book writing coach.
Mm-hmm.
She's somebody who shared that with me. Like, no, that's a waste of everybody's time and attention. Your book needs to be
Mm-hmm.
useful, permanently
Wow.
so, in whatever
Wow.
capacity for whenever somebody picks it up. So I wrote it. So I also had that for leverage for business. I love having a business, Joshua. I love it. I love it because
Wow.
it is a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
It's the gift of people's time and attention. It's where we get to teach. Just like why you love this show. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, you get to have fascinating conversations with people all over the world doing all kinds of different things. You're learning, they're learning, you're connecting. Like, you're a connector, Joshua. so I wrote it for two purposes. And truth be told, once this batch is gone, I'm not reprinting it again. So I have a few hundred copies left.
Wow.
It won't be printed again.
Wow. It's going to be a quite rare limited edition when the time comes.
I like the way you think.
Let's do that, right?
It's a
So
impactful book. It's got orange pages, and it's different. I come from I have a marketing background. I had a
Mhm.
marketing agency for years, and connection is marketing. Done well, connecting is marketing because it's magnetic. It is attractive.
I love it. I agree. I agree with that. I do come from a marketing background as well, and I totally agree with that. But I haven't heard that before. Properly proper marketing is connection. If you do it right,
Yes.
you're actually connecting with people. I love
Yes.
that. What a way
Yes.
to run a marketing
Woo!
agency with such a vision, right? If you see it from
Yeah.
that perspective, wow, you are going to run
Yes.
really good marketing campaigns because you're trying
Yes,
to connect.
advertising is different than marketing. And then the really short, we're not here to talk about marketing, although we could do that another day. Think
Hmm.
about marketing as an umbrella. There's a reason that there's a marketing section in a business plan. So anybody who's listening to this that has a business plan, I certainly wrote one for my first business and that like, wow, there's a
Hmm.
reason that there's a dedicated marketing section because when you take something to market, you are testing to make sure that people hopefully need more than want
Hmm.
what you can offer the world. It is not a push.
Wow.
Advertising is underneath that umbrella. PR is underneath that umbrella.
Wow.
Any kind of media, so forth. So think of it as an umbrella, envision an umbrella. That's marketing. Everything you do to communicate who you are, what you're about, what you offer, what people can get from you, how you change the world, that is underneath that umbrella. And that is connection. Like,
Wow.
how much crappy marketing is there out there? Woo!
So much.
Too
Not
much.
even
It should be illegal.
exactly. Not even real marketing. We haven't even started with all the fake stuff that is out there. Ginger. It's unnerving. You know how much it's pretty bad right
Yes,
now. But
that is pretty bad.
that does prove a little bit more why we need more connection. You did say that connecting people is your north star. I love that, Ginger. Can you share to us a success story in one of your
Yeah.
keynotes and one of the people that you've coached, the business consulting that
Oh my
you've
gosh.
done, a success story where this alignment led to a significant positive change where you connected with someone in
Yes.
your speaker reel you said connecting is simple and the
Mm-hmm.
effects that comes with it, so why not connect a bit more and the benefits
Yes.
that come with connecting. Share to us a
Yes.
success story where you connected and it just created such a positive change.
Well, I will start this by saying every single time it happens, it changes me. And
Oh
I
wow.
use the word growth instead of change because
Hmm.
while they can mean the same thing, a lot of people will feel better about being invited to grow versus being told to change. Another
Wow,
nugget here on the Business Story of the Week show.
I love that.
One common experience, I'll call it, Joshua,
Hmm.
is my primary modes of serving are keynote speaking,
Hmm.
breakthrough sessions, also known as workshop. I like calling breakthrough sessions,
Hmm.
retreats, and long term programming. So month over month, year over year with different teams. So,
Hmm.
one common story is that after a keynote,
Hmm.
whether I'm giving the JOB, which is Joy of Belonging, or Connecting is Simple, or the ZYX, whatever it is, there will usually be a moment in the talk where through my interaction, I literally leave the stage. I'm on the stage a small percentage of the time. I'm in with the audience the majority of the time. So people are seen, they know they're seen, and there's interaction. I am not a stay
Yes.
on stage. It's something that happens because of my behavior and my performance, as it were, is that there'll be a moment where I'll let people know that they are all welcome and wanted. They are genuinely loved. This is a safe space. People care about you. And if you love this work, you're in the right room. If you love who you are by being part of this group, please stay here. If you are not, there's the door. And I will say this, and I will point to the door, and I will hold that space, that pause. And I tell you what, Joshua, I think there's some people that squirm. And they do it in a space that I've set up so they know they're okay. They're having their own internal dialogue. But I do that very much on purpose because a lot of times people think they need an external permission slip. When all they really need is to know that somebody is supporting whatever their next choice is. So what will then happen after that is that's a pretty big moment. Like my talks are full of levity and fun and humor that ties and is very effective. And I do want to have some real moments where you're like, whoa. I've had client, the second in command say, did she just say that? And the client says, yep. And that's good. So what will happen then is in the aftermath or after party, so to speak, of the keynote, when I'm interacting, whether it's on the way to and from a bathroom or just in the hallway, at a breakthrough, whatever it is, I will invariably have somebody come up to me and say, I really needed to hear that today.
Oh, wow.
I had a keynote in January with a wonderful long-term programming client, and it was 600 and some people. It was a large educational audience. I'll just say that. And in the bathroom afterwards, I'm washing my hands and I'm just catching my breath and pausing, which I like to do. And a woman was also in there, and I said hello. It wasn't weird. It was just, a lot of us were in the bathroom at the same time. Anyway, she said, thank you for today. That was really, I really enjoyed that. And that's a common sentiment. And I don't stop there, Joshua. I say, well, what did you enjoy about it? And she started to cry.
Oh, wow.
This is not new to me, thankfully. And I just stood there, and we just held the space. Nobody else was in the bathroom. And I asked her, are you okay? And she said, yeah. She said, I love this industry, but I don't think this is my place.
Wow.
And I'm getting chills just sharing this because I think, wow. Why do I do what I do? Why does anybody do what they do to be the person who they be? If that person felt safe in sharing that based on something that I shared with them, that accomplishes everything I want with connection. She rekindled her own self. I teach a model self-team community. We got to be connected with ourselves first. She was willing to acknowledge, she said, it was all I could do to stay in my seat.
Wow.
Like she saw the door and she was ready to make a run for it.
Oh my.
Right? Like, whoa, who here hasn't been in that spot and not felt like they could? Who here has been in that spot, Joshua, and said, okay, I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling confident, because connection isn't about comfort.
Yes.
Connection, that's a Bermuda Triangle. Connection is about confidence in self. We don't need anybody else's damn permission. We like, this is what I'm going to do. This is who I'm going to be.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter who else. And invariably, that's when people pay the most attention. Like, wait a minute, what did Joshua just do? He's brave enough to do it. I'm going with him, or I'm going to watch that. And I'm going to model that. That's why behavior is so infectious, because we see something and we can feel like we can do it. That's why aspiration, I believe, Joshua, is so much more important than like motivation. That's like Mel Robbins said, I agree. Motivation's garbage. That's external. If we can think that we can be that thing, that's I'm going to aspire to that. That's connection. So that story, I see that in different versions over and over again. So that helps teach me that what I am doing is needed.
Wow.
And this is not ego. This is like being a speaker. This is not an easy road, and I don't do that for pity. I love it. It's my modality.
Yes.
I'm both confident and very comfortable. I love the aspect. Doesn't mean that I every single time I take the stage or take the mic, I'm like, I take that very seriously, because I want the audience to feel the connection that I am
Hmm.
trying to either create, build, enhance wherever the group is at and however we are already connected. So
Wow.
that's a common story. People will come up and share something, and it's always such a gift that people feel like they can trust somebody they just saw.
That's fascinating. It's such powerful stories, Ginger, and I love this because it's something that resonates with me as well. Something I'm trying to be better at, with connecting with people. I
Mm,
know I want to, you know, exact positive change out there, but really it starts with the first person in front of you, holding that space,
yes.
being connected, staying
Yes.
connected, and just
Hmm.
uh, influencing that
Hmm.
change. It's lovely. I love all of it. I love what you do. And Ginger, thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all that wisdom, that insight. I cannot say it enough that how much I love what you told us today. Ginger, it's been great. It's been powerful. I really love it. um Before I truly let you go, Ginger, I'd like to give you this opportunity. Where can we connect with you? Where can we find you? Where can we buy your book? I'd love a copy myself, of course, but where
You
are you
got it.
most
Send your
active at?
address.
Oh, please. I mean,
You got it.
where are you most active at? Are you on Instagram? Are you on LinkedIn? Let our audience know, please.
Of course. Thank you, Joshua. You're a very gracious host. I can't wait for when we get to be in person together. This on screen time has been a gift. Gingerjohnson.com, GingerJohnson.com is where it all goes down. The
Hmm.
speaking page is absolutely 100% up to date, including the reel, my primary areas of focus, topics. Everything else is in the evolution stage. By the time maybe this is published, everything else will be finished. But that speaking page is the one. So gingerjohnson.com/speaking. LinkedIn, very active there. If you had the wisdom to listen to Joshua's programs, whichever one it was, please go ahead and say, hey, I was there. I took it all in. Thanks so much. Invite me to connect on LinkedIn. I'd be delighted to do that as well. The book is also on gingerjohnson.com. I do not sell it anywhere else. And I do include it with some of my packages, the keynotes, the workshops, the
Wow.
retreats, the programming, and so forth. So that's where it's shaken out.
Fantastic. Ginger, once again, thank you for what you do. Before I truly let you go, one last thing. One more thing.
Please.
What would be, before, take us home, with this, take us home with this one small
Mm.
actionable step that every listener right now can take today to start
Yep,
building deeper and more meaningful connection in their lives? What would it be?
absolutely. Absolutely. It's that connecting is simple. That
Hmm.
is a big idea and a promise. And it's one, two, three. It's you start, eye contact, wave, hello, start, be a good human. Simplify. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't listen to the stories in your head. Just like see somebody, say hello, and then have fun. Give somebody a
Wow.
compliment, crack a joke, do something
Wow.
do something that brings levity. So keep connecting simple. Make it simple, keep it simple. It's my ultimate cha-cha dance. Make it simple, keep it simple. That's the deal. That will make our world a better place because that helps us be our best humans. Joshua, thank you so much for letting me be with you today.
Oh, Ginger, thank you so much for being there. Thank you so much for the wonderful messages you've shared to us today. And I will personally take it with me. I can already tell. And for our audience and listeners as well, I hope they do the same. Ginger, thank you so much for being on the show.
All right. Thank you, Joshua. Take good care.
To all our audience and listeners out there, see you on the next one.
All right, so here's the thing we try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.